Alarming to me was the consistent behavior of people inside Robert's camp that were bringing underage girls around with fake IDs and then getting a payment settlement. And I have documentation, as you saw in the videos, of this inside corruption. There was an enterprise going on, but it was to the exclusion of Robert because they were capitalizing on his lack of education, on his maniacal work ethic, on the fact that I don't want to say he's illiterate because I don't like that negative connotation, but he does have compromised reading and learning skills. He has said that. So that it's easy for someone to take advantage of you.
Welcome back. That was fascinating, right? Inside view of R. Kelly's world. And that's what this trial is all about. The allegation is he's running a criminal enterprise to sexually abuse young women and underage girls. And that was Sharon Winbush. Interesting. She's saying, yeah, there was an enterprise, but it was to the exclusion of R. Kelly, Robert, as they call him. Fascinating. R. Kelly back in court today, day 4. Take a look. No cameras. Thank Chief Justice Roberts for that. Not allowing cameras in federal court, but there's R. Kelly. And a lot happening once again here on day 4. So let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae, who is joining us live from Brooklyn, New York tonight. Julia, great to see you. Let's talk about Jane Doe number 5, important witness taking the stand.
Very important witness. She is the second alleged victim in this case to take the stand, and she's really expanding things for the prosecution's case. We're not just hearing about one incident with one woman and another incident now with her, but she was able to tell this jury about what seemed to be a group of women who all are under these rules of the defendant, who were all very subservient to him. She said that he was trying to groom her, wanting to bond with her. She was 17 when she first entered into this sexual relationship with the defendant, and she admits she told him she was 18 at the beginning, but in the middle of the relationship, she did admit that she was 17 years old, and instead of sending her away permanently, he worked out a way where she could still live with him and be homeschooled, this with the consent of her parents.
Wow. Wow. This is, so now we're getting really to the heart of this case. Julia Janae, what can you tell us about the atmosphere at court? I mean, how has it been at the courthouse, inside, outside?
Well, Vinny, inside, this information is difficult to listen to. This is very explicit testimony. The things that Jane Doe number 5 has been testifying about today, she's talking about having to urinate in a cup because she wasn't allowed to use the bathroom. She accused the defendant of forcing her to eat feces while she was there. All is part of this grooming process where she wanted to do whatever it took to please him. So inside the courtroom, you still have supporters for R. Kelly who are here day in and day out. Outside, things are slowing down a bit. We had some weather with the tropical storm here in the area, so not as many people outside of the courtroom, but things are moving along for this case. It's expected to go another 3 weeks. And here's a bit more from inside of court, that testimony of Jane Doe number 5. She broke down on the stand, even after telling us all of these really explicit things about the sexual encounters that she had with the defendant, which sounded like repeatedly. She also said that after she received a diagnosis for a sexually transmitted disease, vaginal herpes, that this really tore her apart. She felt like he knew that he had it and that he had intentionally infected her. She also described that she was chastised by him, sometimes physically, in the form of spankings. If she did anything wrong, if she had an attitude, if she didn't follow his rules. And she says that he held her in a room for 4 to 5 days. This happened on multiple occasions. We even saw an exhibit in the trial today of this studio in Chicago on Justine Street where she said there were bedrooms. It was a music studio, but inside one of the control rooms is where she was kept for multiple days. And just to go over some of those rules that she told this jury about. One, that her wardrobe had to always be baggy, had to be sweats. They could not look or be attractive to other men, that they had to ask permission before leaving the room that they were in from Kelly. Had to call him daddy and immediately give him a kiss when he entered the room, that he discouraged communication between family and friends when they were spending time with him. They had to delete all of their social media and had to, quote, act like a child, part of the act, think, be that she read from as rules that were given to her by the defendant.
All right, stand by, Julie J. Let's bring back in our think tank. Still with us, Casey Early, Michael Bixon, criminal defense attorneys, also Steve Greenberg, who was representing R. Kelly on these charges previously. Steve, I'll get to you last. All right, I want to hear, Casey, your reaction to this testimony, Jane Doe number 5.
Well, just to hear the allegations, they're absolutely horrible, but we have to remember as a defense attorney that it's simply that. Allegations, the prosecution, whether or not they can prove that, number one, these actions occurred when the minors were actually minors as opposed to being adults, and whether or not these were willing acts between the two, the ladies and Mr. Kelly. But we hear a consistent story throughout. He had his set of rules. They had to follow those rules, but he also had help. So I suspect that with the testimony of Mr. Smith, who was testifying in exchange for immunity, that will be damaging testimony for the defense.
Michael Bixon, this is some bizarre.
What up, y'all? It's
right?
Money Loc from the Money Loc channel.
Rules and the things that have to
Make sure
be
you
done.
like, comment, subscribe.
If the jury believes this,
This when you think your life
we've got Steve Greenberg.
is in turmoil,
Your reaction.
I guarantee you will not want to be sitting in the same seat as R. Kelly right
I
now.
don't want to get too deep into the
So life ain't so bad.
because I've been privy to the
Because R. Kelly's sitting in the seat right now.
protective order in the case. But I think what's important.
Make sure you like, comment,
is
share,
that
subscribe
no matter
for all your
what
R. Kelly
you think of
updates.
what these
We got it.
witnesses are saying, and people
We
are
out.
gonna